Hello and welcome back to the Spyshack podcast, where Survivor superfans get together to talk about the latest episode of Survivor. I am not Perspective. He was not able to make it today. So I am Randy, your substitute host for the night. So I want everyone to talk in the chat, let us know your questions and everything. But we are here with our co-host. Let's see who's here. Mark, how are you tonight? And give us one word to describe the episode.
I'm great. I mean, I ate breakfast off of a napkin this morning, so that's always good. Saul told me not to go with any sort of body parts for this episode, but for this episode, I kind of have to. So my word for the day is cleavage.
Okay. Kim, how are you doing, and what's your word?
I'm doing okay, and I just want to say that I love and I miss my son every day. And my word is target.
Okay. I am Randy. I am the substitute host for the night, as I said, and my word that I'm gonna choose is upswing. I think this episode was an upswing. So tell us your words in the chat. What is one word that you would use to describe the episode? Just one word. And we'll go ahead and get into it. So to start out the episode, we see the tribe, the merged tribe, come back post-tribal, and the healers are not very happy with what happened at tribal. They're calling everyone liars, specifically Ben. What'd you guys think of that?
Complicated.
I don't know why all the pressure was put on Ben. Yeah. And I was a little shocked by that, because I was thinking, are they seeing stuff that we're not privy to? Because
I think they thought Ben was with them the whole time. I think that's the big question, is that I think they felt really let down from that Yawa 5 agreement that they had with Ben and Lauren. And I think that they come back, they were planning on Ben voting with them the whole time. And we even saw in the last episode, Joe saying, "Why are you trusting Ben?" So I think the fact that he let them down that way, I think that really started to shine light on who Ben was to them.
Yeah.
Yes, and the thing is that Ben is playing for Ben. He's not playing for Chrissy. He's not playing for Lauren or Ryan. He's playing for himself. And, you know, I think he made the right decision, too, with his vote.
Yeah, and as we'll see in this episode, the claws start coming out a little bit more from Ben this episode. He kind of had some interesting moments that we'll talk about here later in the episode. But as we go on, the next morning, we just see the camp, everyone just lounging around camp and working. And Lauren finds something in the nails that Cole seemed to miss at last episode. She finds a vote that I'm calling the delayed vote. I don't really know what to call this vote, this advantage, but the delayed vote, where she finds out that if she doesn't vote at the next tribal council, she can use a second vote later in the season. What do you guys think about this new mechanism that we have in the game that we haven't seen before?
It's basically just the extra vote advantage that we had before, but you know, the way that this is played is slightly different. And
you have to take a risk to earn it. You're not just given it, which I like that. I like that. Yes, it's an advantage, but only if you take this risk.
Right.
Yes, and it was definitely something you had to consider, because you're thinking to yourself, if I don't vote, are they going to catch on to the fact that there was one less vote? So then are they going to come back to camp paranoid about who has some type of advantage, you know? And, and we'll talk later on why nobody said anything at the vote. So I liked it. I definitely would have used it, because I would rather have 2 votes later in the show, so to speak, than not have 2 votes. I mean, it can make or break everything, but we have 2 votes, 2 idols out there right now.
Absolutely.
So
and I think this is a fun addition to our growing pile of advantages that that Survivor has at its disposal. I think this is a fun one. I think the closest thing I compare this to, as Mark, you said, is the second vote, but it kind of reminds me of Second Chances, where they had to basically jump out of the challenge that they were in, the immunity challenge that they were in, to have a chance to earn it. So they had a little bit of risk there to try to get it. But I really thought this was a fun advantage, and I'm really happy it landed in Lauren's hands.
Me too.
Lauren is a type of character that no one thought about at the beginning of the season. People are starting to really like Lauren, and she's growing. And I think this was a fun way for her to have this to her name and to show a little bit of strategic chops in the episode.
Yeah, I think this is where Lauren starts to show her game potential. And I think before this point, before the merge, everybody just thought Lauren is just there for a number.
Yeah.
And right now, like, she's actually going out and doing stuff, saying stuff to people, and making moves happen. And I think this is very exciting for us to watch.
Yeah, and she's strategic. She knows and she understands the game, even though we've spoken before that she didn't initially even try out. But whatever the case is, she understands this game, and she doesn't share a lot with everybody. The only person she really trusts is Ben. Yeah. And I like the two of them together. I think that nobody really sees it. Nobody's really suspecting the two of them. And I was really happy when Lauren found it. I was like,
and
all
Lauren
right.
is not Lauren is not in any immediate danger anyway, so it was safe for her to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody's focusing on her right now.
Nope.
And then, as Doug says, Doug makes a good point in the chat. But the nice thing about this advantage is that you can play it off as if it was actually a disadvantage, that you got your vote taken away from you, just like Devin did a few episodes ago. So I think that's an interesting concept, especially since we've already seen that this season.
Interesting.
That was really good, Doug. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then as we move on through the episode, we get to the reward challenge, where we walk up and we see two structures set up. So we know that it's going to be a team challenge. And for those of you that watch the Survivor YouTube videos and some of the pre-episode press, you'll see that the first 5 members of the season that got voted out actually got to test this episode instead of the Dream Team. So that was really fun.
Oh, that's cool.
That was really fun getting to see Katrina and Simone and Patrick and Alan and Rourke play out this challenge in the test.
Is that the footage that they use for the explanation part of it?
You don't really get to see them too much, but on YouTube every week before the challenge, you can see the Dream Team basically testing out the challenge. So this week they just did Dream Team versus the first 5 vote off. So I thought that's
really nice.
I really liked that they did that, and I hope they do that more often in the future.
Yeah.
But in this, you will race up a tower, and then you'll slingshot and hit 5 targets. Pretty simple. But the key rule is that all players must use the slingshot at least once. We'll come back to that later.
Yep.
So in this challenge, obviously it's a team challenge, but there's 11 people. So one person got to be the lucky person to go immediately to the reward. Do you like that? Do you like that one person gets to go to reward, or they should automatically lose? Or do you like them switching it up every now and then?
For me, I think switching it up, I don't think it's fair that they don't get to go to the reward if they're not competing. It's not like they lost. So I think that what could be fun is if, since Joe was the one that set out, he had to pick the team he thought would win. And if that team had won, he then goes.
And they've done that before.
Yeah, they've done that before. But I don't have a problem with the person sitting out going, because they didn't choose to sit out. It was the luck of the draw.
Here's the thing: when they used to have the single one out choose the winning team, they declared who they picked, and so the people within the challenge they can manipulate it however they want. But what they can do in the future is they can have the single person out, secretly lock in which team they want to win, and in that case they can't rig the players in the challenge cannot rig it.
I agree. And then Doug actually makes the comment that I was just about to say, that I'm fine with the winner going if it's a random pick. But if it's a schoolyard pick where you're picking your team, then I'm fine with the person not picked not going. But I also like them switching it up, just like how they did with the random Exile Island that we saw in Game Changers, where a lot of times Debbie, she was sent to exile. She would be off on her own like Julia Sokolowski was and left her alone, but she got rewarded for being left alone. So I like when they change up these things that are pretty obvious to us that we're so used to 35 seasons in that, oh, they're in exile, they're going to suffer for the next few days. But instead she got rewarded for that. So I liked this change. But as we go on to this through this episode, we see that Joe automatically moved on. Whatever, good for Joe. He's usually bad at competing anyway.
Yeah.
So in this challenge, it's pretty straightforward. We see the red team send up each of their players one at a time until they hit the target. But the blue team has a different strategy. They send Ryan up to shoot once and get out of there. They send Chrissy up to shoot once and they immediately come down. Since you have to at least shoot it once, they got their weaklings out of the way and basically let JP and Devin do all the work. Cole tried a little bit, never hit one. I think he took probably about 3 or 4 shots and got out of there. But even though they went up and down more often, they had their 2 sharpshooters doing most of the work in JP and Devin, and they hit the targets and blue ended up winning. What did you think of the blue team's strategy here?
I thought it was better than the red team. I definitely thought it was a great strategy. Get Ryan and Chrissy out of the way, so then we can focus on really targeting these, what are they called? Bullseyes. I think that Ben spent way too much time trying to just get one. And then I think Ashley spent a lot of time too when they could have just went through the bad ones and then focused on getting the numbers.
They also might have misunderstood the rules. They might have thought that every single person has to hit a target. Yeah, and that's kind of where they went wrong.
This strategy was definitely a risk, but it worked out for them because the red team couldn't hit the targets. So I think that it wouldn't always work, but it worked for them, obviously. So then so we see our winners being Ryan and Chrissy and JP and Devin and Cole, and Joe gets to tag along to go have spaghetti on an island. They got to eat spaghetti, bread, salad, and wine. But instead of the normal just feast, it was family style, where you eat alone in private and out of one big plate. And Joe, since he was the lottery winner, got to pick the order. What did you think of this twist? It was a twist on a normal reward. What do you think about that, Mark?
A red flag immediately went up. Like, why would they go in individually and in order? And the whole thing, you had to have smelled something was coming, and it was kind of obvious.
What about you, Kim?
To people who know the game, it would be obvious.
I definitely thought something was up. I'm like, why would they go alone? Something has to be there, because it would make no sense to eat alone. And then, I think they wanted other castaways or survivors to think, who will share the most food? Who's going to eat everything? Because you're going to be judged on how much you eat.
I thought this was a fun twist. Yeah, there's a chance for drama. It also, with the addition of the idol clue that we'll talk about here in a little bit, this adds some suspense for us all to watch as we start to see it kind of unfold. After Devin eats, we start to see a little bit of the letter under the spaghetti, and JP is oblivious as usual. And then eventually, we see Cole find the idol clue. And so he is smart enough to understand, I got to do something about this. I can't just leave this here. So he puts the spaghetti on a napkin and then back on the plate, which I thought was really odd. And then eventually Chrissy sees it because she's looking around. I'm not a Chrissy fan, as we've discussed before, but I thought this was really funny with Chrissy, where she finds it and I think she says, "Oh crap," or something like that, and then she's like, "Oops, sorry, I shouldn't have."
She said, "Oh, F-U-C-K."
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was really kind of like a funny moment from Chrissy, even though I don't.
Yeah.
She left the clue there alone. She left it there, but as she says in her confessional later, as you got to remember, they're saying these confessionals later after they know some things. She's like, "Oh, I hope Ryan finds it too." I thought that was weird to automatically hope so. I understand he's your ally, but that seemed weird.
Yeah, I think that she didn't, and what happened was Ryan mentioned what he did, which was brilliant, because he took it totally out of the equation, right? It wasn't even there, and then she backtracked and said, "Oh, wait a minute, that's what I should have done."
Yeah. Think about how much differently things would have gone down if Cole would have removed the plate. You know what I mean? Like, he was the first one. If he was the first one to find it, and he could have been the only one, things would have went down a little bit.
It would have went a lot different. And I can tell you this, I give Ryan credit because I didn't even think of hiding the plate. I didn't know how I would have hid that.
The question.
I don't know what I would have done, but hiding the plate was really good.
Dump the salad and put all the spaghetti in that bowl the salad was in.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
There's something. There has to be something there for you for that. But
good for him. I was really impressed when he did that.
Yeah, Cole tried to hide it, but I think he thought it was within the rules for him not to move the plate from where it was. I think he just didn't think that far.
I don't think what Cole did was bad. I think there's more he could have done, and I think he did all he thought he could do. I agree with
I mean, he attempted something.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely tried to keep it hidden. But, I mean, Chrissy was all in it. She was looking under everything. She said, I know there's a clue here, and I'm going to find it.
Well, yeah, this was well done by Ryan. And then as we see, as they leave this reward, and everyone goes back to camp, and it's just kind of interesting, just the way that they film this, where you see them all walking past the flag to go back into camp, and they're all thinking it's right there. Why can't I get it? It's right there.
All eyeing it.
Exactly. I thought that was kind of a fun camera angle there. But they go back, and Cole decides to go pee, and so right away, and so that leaves Ryan with free reign to go find the idol. And he very quickly, it seemed like, it doesn't seem like he was there very long, and that must not have been buried that deep.
He found it so fast that I for a second thought he didn't have it.
I had to rewind that to confirm that you could see him hold it.
Yes, because I'm like, are we sure he found this? Because it was that fast. And then you see Chrissy go to dig. And what's weird is in the commercials, it appeared to be that Chrissy went after Cole. And it wasn't. It was Cole went after Chrissy, which is still wrong to me. Either way, I don't like it. I don't like the physical touching of someone moving. I can understand digging too, but I don't like that he tried to physically move her.
Yeah, I don't know how much he did. I think he got in the hole and then she kind of latched on to him. I really do think that. I don't think he came up and tried to pull her out of the way. I think he saw her there. He tried to dig into the hole and she tried to pull him off.
Yeah, it was more Chrissy trying to move him.
And then Brian has it, which is so
And Ryan's
funny.
just standing there in his little pink shorts.
And then Ben thinks Cole has it.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting like the way that whole thing played out, and Ryan's just watching it all.
I mean, is that an idol in your pocket, Cole, or just happy to see me? I think that's what I was thinking.
I don't know how, and unless he put it in, because if he's wearing a bathing suit, maybe it has like that netted crotch area. Because I'm like, where is he putting this idol that it's not falling out of his bony body?
Yeah, well, you see a lot of times he's there like holding his waist, and he's like holding the top of it so he doesn't drop it, I'm pretty sure. But
might be in the waistband, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Some people are talking, and especially I see Doug here talking that he thinks that Cole was pushing Chrissy, and it's very likely. It's very likely. It was just the way that I saw that one when I watched it a couple times. But we don't know. I don't think if it was pretty harsh pushing, if it was, I don't think we would have seen it. I'm sure there's some stuff on the cutting room floor that we would see either ways. I agree. I think it was on both sides there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely on both sides. And you're fighting for $1 million. You're literally digging $1 million. That's how I would think it. I'm digging for $1 million, and I guess I'll push you out of my way.
So this right here is where I feel like the edit was changing on Ben. When Ben immediately starts going, Cole found it. Cole has it. What are you going to do? Like, that was a bad move from you. And Ben is drawing on my last nerve.
He was a little too aggressive on that. And
there's a couple comments that he made of, well, I just don't like Joe. Oh, I just don't like Cole. And because they're trying to play the game. And I feel like Ben is turning into one of those guys that thinks he's better than the game. Mm-hmm. That he can play the game, but no one else can play the game. and I'm starting to really get annoyed with that. I understand that he kind of comes back in the end and apologizes a little bit, but I'm so confused by this edit that Ben is getting, because we saw high highs and low lows this episode from Ben, and I don't know where it's going. Like, we've seen some really heroic stuff from Ben this season. Yep. We've had multiple episodes where you're just like, oh wow, this is a winner edit. But then there's been times where it's like, wow, I don't know about this. So what did you guys think of the way Ben reacted to Cole? We'll talk about that piece for now. The way that Ben was handling Cole after he claimed he had the idol.
It was definitely a little Alan Ball-esque, I gotta say. At which point Cole should have just taken off all his clothing and be like, go search my clothing. I have nothing on me.
If he would have started on the heroes, he may have.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, JP would have stripped down. Okay? if Ben said JP as the idol, he'd have been like, nope, no, I don't.
JP doesn't know where he is, let's be honest.
But JP stripped down in the first or second episode? He would have stripped down again just to prove he didn't have it.
You can have the whole plate there showing, and JP still wouldn't know where the idol would have been.
So
he wouldn't know. But when his stupidity is getting him very far in this game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so after this whole idol dog pile, we move on to the actual immunity challenge, where they have to stand on a beam and balance a statue with a pole. Pretty boring to watch, but
just basic. And I think it's hard as heck, but
yeah.
There's exactly. No suspense. There's no excitement. It's boring.
I got real grossed out watching Ryan's heartbeat through his skin.
That's how much weight he lost.
When he stepped down, he looked really shaky. I really thought we were going to see Ryan pass out. Because if you watch that back and watch Ryan come off when he loses the challenge and he steps off, he kind of wobbles a little bit. Like, I don't know. It just seemed really odd. I really thought we were going to see another pass out.
Yeah, I thought so too. And when I saw his heart beating through his chest, I'm like, wow, he needs to eat. He is severely malnourished. He even though he was thin when he came on the show, he's lost a significant amount of weight where you can see his heart beating. And I said, God, I hope this ends. Not that I want him to lose, but like, so we can eat soon. Like, have another reward where there's lots of food, because these people need to eat.
Yeah,
exactly. So after 10 minutes of standing on the pole, they have to move back, and we're down to 6 people. Then eventually it gets down to just 3. And we have Desi, Cole, and JP battling it out at the end. Desi eventually falls. And then we see the 2 guys both kind of wobble back and forth, and JP falls, and Cole wins immunity. What were your thoughts when Cole won immunity?
Darn it!
Really?
No, I wanted JP or Desi to win. JP for my personal draft. Desi because I really like her. I think she is an amazing player. So I was like, darn it! As soon as Desi fell, I was like, oh. So.
I can agree with you. I was
Cole,
definitely cheering for Desi.
I mean, again, like, I can separate everything and say draft person I like the most, and I was disappointed when Desi fell. I
was definitely cheering for Desi, but when it got down to the 2 guys, I was ecstatic when Cole won. I was actually watching with a buddy that stood up and celebrated when Cole won, because that adds a wrinkle to the game where. Yeah.
I agree.
The Alliance just can't keep doing what they want to do. So I think that was that adds to the fun, that it kind of takes away one of their big thoughts that they threats of who they thought they were going to go for. Yes, it kind of signed Desi's death note there. But I was very, very happy for Cole. I don't dislike Cole as much as a lot of people do. I don't think he's a great player. I think he has some good instincts, but he has a lot of faults as well.
Right. I like Cole. I don't dislike Cole. I think Cole is a nice guy. I just think that he's dumb when it comes to the game. And just like the social skills of it, like just not knowing you can't eat everything, those type of things. But I think he's a nice guy. Yeah. I don't dislike him at all. I mean, the only one, like I told you, I really just have a bad taste for is Chrissy, and it's how she talks to people. That's all it is. Like Cole doesn't talk down to people. He's not. He's a 23-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You know, that's all he is. He's nice. I like Cole, but I don't want him to win. But I do like Cole, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
So when Desi fell for my draft, I wanted JP to stay, but I wanted Desi to win because I liked her most. And as soon as she fell, I said, for the game, these people are idiots if they don't vote her out.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. So then after Cole wins his immunity, we go back to camp, and immediately the heroes and hustlers plan to vote to split the vote between Joe and Desi. Not too surprising. They have the numbers to be able to pull it off without much of a threat. Might as well do it. Mm-hmm. So we see that, and then eventually, I thought this was interesting that Cole recognizes that. Well, obviously, they're going to split the vote, but we just need one to switch that up and have the majority. I was a little impressed with Cole for acknowledging that, because he's there with Joe and Mike, who I would think know the game better than Cole, but Cole's the one we see saying it. So eventually Joe hears this and confronts Devin and Ryan about Ben being such a threat, while Ben is lurking in the bushes about 20 feet away. What do you guys think about this?
That was so funny.
Oh, God. How did they not see him? How on earth did they not see Ben? He's like, his whole beard is like completely outside the bushes. It's like growing out of the bushes.
There's like 3 branches, and he's just right here. It's pretty obvious where he was.
That was one of my favorite scenes in the whole show. It's just because it was so funny to see him he wasn't even hiding.
No.
He was just standing there.
All he's missing is a neon sign. Like, seriously.
Ryan was there too.
Yeah, Ryan and Devin. He's talking to Ryan and Devin.
Yeah, it was Ryan, Devin, and Cole.
And it didn't look like any of them saw him. But
no, it don't look like any of them saw him.
No. But we hear Ryan talking to confessional that, yes, I agree. Ben is a threat, but Ben is close with Chrissy, and me making a move on Ben would be a move against Chrissy, and I can't do that because she's one of my allies. What do you think of that? Do you think that's a good move from Ryan?
Right now, I think it is.
Yeah, right now it is, and I just think Joe picked the wrong person for them to group up on, and because Ben is in too many groups.
But we hear Joe say he wants to get closer to Devin. We hear that early in the episode during the reward challenge. The reward so I think that's where he thinks his best way in is through Devin.
Yeah, but for the target for this vote, I mean, he could have pushed it on like Ashley or JP or somebody that nobody would oppose to getting rid of, instead of Ben, who with whom people
a
lot of connections with, or straight up have a strong alliance with. And I think that's where Joe made his biggest mistake this episode.
I got a question for you. Getting back to Ben and Joe. I missed, and I didn't rewatch it, where Joe insulted basically Ben's military.
Well, that's where we're getting here. I wouldn't say he insulted. So the next scene that we see after that is Ben and Joe start to antagonize each other a little bit. And I fully stand behind that Ben started this. Ben comes up and says, "So you're going to pull out another idol? What are you going to do now?" And just kind of really just is picking at Joe and
antagonizing.
You know how to react. How Joe's going to react to this.
Yeah.
And I think Joe keeps a fairly calm voice for Joe. Joe doesn't have a calm voice to start, but his voice doesn't really change throughout this. And he's like, "Well, you've been over there swearing on your Marines," and Ben does not take well to this. No. Ben immediately starts fighting back, claiming, "Who did that? Who told you that? Whoever it is, they're lying." what do you guys think of this interaction between Joe and Ben that ended up turning into kind of a loud verbal fight that the whole cast heard?
It was
weird because I can tell you, I didn't see Ben say that, but I also don't think Joe is lying. Not that Ben said it. Someone might have told Joe that. I just don't think Joe would just make that up. It doesn't make sense. It didn't benefit Joe. It wasn't like he said it in front of everybody. Mm-hmm. He just said it to Ben alone. So, Joe, he has this even keel, like as angry as he can get, like you said, his voice doesn't get real loud. He doesn't scream. He doesn't yell. He's just like, whatever. And he talks back. I think that's one of the reasons I like Joe, is because he's one of those people who you can be yelling at and then he can stay level. And then that just makes you more mad.
Exactly. And that's what we saw a lot with Ben.
Because Joe didn't give Ben what he wanted.
The thing is, I think Joe took a shot below the belt, but then Ben also allowed Joe to trigger him, and I think it's a little bit of both sides.
So then after this, we see Lauren tell Ben, "We got a problem. We can't do the vote split. I have this advantage, and I'm going to use it, so I'm concerned." Did you like that she said something to Ben about this and that she kind of came clean?
I don't know.
I think I appreciated that Lauren's like, well, I have this advantage. I'm doing what's best for me, and I'm using it.
I think that she had to say something to somebody.
Yeah.
Because if somebody figured it out at camp, at Tribal, and then Ben finds out afterwards that she lied, at least then he feels, okay, well, she's open up to me. He didn't tell anybody about this advantage as of yet.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't see it coming up.
Based on this information, Ben goes to Dr. Mike to ask him, I need your vote. I'm going to get voted out. And you see Dr. Mike really starting to wonder, like, why? But this, I think, is what we'll see later at Tribal Council. Afterwards, Dr. Mike talks to Cole about the same thing. Are they lying to me again? What are we going to do? And I thought it was interesting that he did talk to Cole about this. And as the result will play out, this is why this happened. So as we go into Tribal Council, Joe calls Ben out for running the game again, as that's always the threat of Ben. He's running the game. He's the one lying. He's the one doing all this. But Ben gets defensive that his alliance is a team. I think he said, we're the Knights of the Round Table, is I think the phrase that he used. What did you think about this, yet again, Joe and Ben interaction?
I don't think it's good for Ben. This is who Joe is. So nobody's surprised when Joe does this. It's how Joe's played this entire game. He calls people out. He puts a big target on his back. And nobody votes him out. I mean, they could have, even though Desi was the better choice, nobody votes Joe out. Joe is still there. And he's always the target. And 100% he is not going to be the target next week.
So this goes into my question, and this is a question for the audience. I want you guys to answer in the chat here as well. Does Ben's title of hero make him look worse the way that he is reacting to Joe? Since he is classified and titled as a hero, and he is getting so aggressive back with Joe, is it making him seem much worse since he has that title? I'm intrigued to see if these hero, healer, hustler tags are going to really affect the way that we look at these people.
Here's my stance on it. Like, by episode 2, that title on him is just kind of lost on me, and I just don't see him that way anymore. And so the title doesn't really bother me, doesn't really change my opinion as much.
Okay. What about you, Kim?
I agree with Mark that, I never really personalized these tribes where they are, like heroes, hustlers, healers. I've never done it because sometimes it just doesn't make sense to me that they're even on that tribe. I think what is hurting Ben's game is I think he's just losing patience out there. I think he's done. I think he's tired. I think he's hungry. I think he probably misses his family, and he's losing his patience, and people are aggravating him, and he's letting it show. You know, and there's people who are not letting it show, where they're just keeping it to themselves, letting it out in confessional. And I think Ben's game is hurt right now.
The thing is,
I think
Joe
he was
also
honestly hurt the most out of everybody this episode. I think Ben's game was hurt the most.
Yeah, but Joe is also slowly like getting on people's last nerves, and pretty much everybody's bottling up right now, but it's all gonna blow pretty soon.
He's been getting on everybody's nerves since the beginning. And they're still keeping him around. I think that's what's going on. I mean, Chrissy basically yells at him, of course, because that's how Chrissy is at Tribal. And Joe is just Joe. I don't think Joe, other than how we treated Mike in the beginning, and I still will stand by that I did not like that. Joe hasn't really been that mean to people. He's obnoxious, but he's not mean. Other than I don't like how we treated Mike.
Yeah, do you think people are dragging him to the end? Or are people trying to drag him to the end?
No, because I wouldn't drag Joe to the end.
Yeah, and I'll come back to that point. I don't think so either. And I'll come back to that point in a little bit of being dragged to the end. Then we get to a very strange part of the episode, in my opinion, where Devin talks about him not having energy and he doesn't want to be a zombie. He wants to be a light and a happy person. And Probst just eats this up. And Devin didn't make any sense, right?
No.
Like, he didn't answer the question. He didn't really say anything. Like, I was real lost.
I think it's exhaustion. I think that they are just, he's exhausted too. Yeah. He's a really mellow guy, so he takes it differently than Ben does. So he's just quiet and tired and sad rather than angry.
Yeah.
And I think that they're done. I think that it is just, they want it to be over already.
So now it's time to vote. We see everyone go up and vote, and we see that Lauren does play her advantage. And she takes it out of her keyword of the episode, cleavage, and rolls up the other parts of it and puts it back in her cleavage and puts her note right into the urn. This was slick. I thought this was well done. This was well done by Lauren. I am very much becoming a Lauren fan. The way that she is just so kind of sly and under the radar. And I thought it was an interesting point she kind of made earlier in the episode of, I had to make sure no one was looking at me when I got the advantage clue. That's the key. No one is looking at Lauren. Like, you can do whatever you want. No one's looking at you. Like, you're in a great spot where you are not a threat. You are on the tribe that the starting tribe that has the least amount of people in the game. Well, now tied. And you have some good social connections. So I thought this was kind of an interesting play by Lauren, and I thought she played it off really well.
Yeah, and Saul's going to be so excited we used that word 3 times already in this episode.
Leave it, Saul, when you hear this later.
4 times.
So it's time for the vote to be read off. We have 1 vote for Ben, 1 vote for Lauren. Right when I saw the Lauren vote, I was like, something's weird here.
Yeah, I thought that too. I'm like, who's voting?
What's going on? And then we see 4 votes for Joe and 4 votes for Desi. That's 10 total votes, and no one blinks an eye.
Nobody, not even math wins.
Yeah. And as we kind of hear later in some of the exit press from Desi and some of the post-episode comments from Jeff, no one really did notice. Like, people asked, was this editing? He's like, no, of course it wasn't editing. We wanted people to see. We would have loved it if people would have made some sort of like comment at Tribal that why aren't we missing a vote? It really seems like no one really noticed, and I think that
not even
you know why I think nobody noticed is because unless it's editing on the show, he never reads all the votes sometimes.
But it was a tie.
I know, but people probably just weren't thinking. I just don't know how they didn't pick up on it.
I think someone will think back later, being like, okay, so we had 4 votes for Jesse, 4 votes for Joe. They tied, and we had 1 and 1. Wait, aren't we missing one? So I'm thinking I could see them noticing later. But right there at Tribal, I guess I can give them a little bit of like, whatever. They're tired. It's stressful, whatever. But I think they'll notice later. And so I'm intrigued to see what we see next episode on this. So as we go to the second vote, the big question in my mind is, what does Lauren do? Does Lauren vote? What's she supposed to do? How is she going to play this off? And she just shoves her little paper off the table and doesn't vote, as she shouldn't. Make sense that she shouldn't vote. I thought she played this one well as well. And the second vote is 7 for Desi and 1 for Joe. And so there we lose Desi for the episode for the season. We do hear her say that she is the first member of the jury. So we have started our jury.
I was happy that she made jury.
Absolutely.
I really liked Desi.
We've started Ponderosa videos online, so those are fun. Make sure you check those out. Desi has a pretty good one. I'm intrigued to see how that goes. For those of you that haven't seen the Ponderosa videos, it's interesting to see her. There is a worker at Ponderosa that is participating in a pageant in Fiji, and she teaches her how to walk and teaches her how to go through some of these things. So it's kind of fun seeing Desi in her element since she has that pageant background. So
and she's absolutely beautiful.
She's gorgeous and she's ripped, and so I thought that was a kind of a fun little side from Desi. So what we'll do now, we will preview or show the draft and where we are in the draft right now. Can you guys see the draft screen?
Yes, I do.
So right now we have with 100 points. Mark is still in the lead with Ben, Chrissy, and Joe. Kim, with her full team intact, has 95 points.
Yay! Only 5 points behind.
Got to be catching up to Mark soon with 95 points with JP, Ashley, Ryan, and Lauren. I lost a person this episode, and I'm very disappointed because I thought I had 2 good people left. So I am left in third place with 66 points with just Devin. And Saul is in 4th with just Cole and 56 points. And Dr. Mike went undrafted, and he's looking pretty good right now. But he has 28 points himself with adding Katrina's 1. They have 29 there.
Katrina's 1.
But so
this is very reminiscent of last season of Survivor with our drafts.
Absolutely. Very, very much. And so I will kind of give a little eulogy to Desi in the draft. I think that Desi is in line with our previous 3 evictees or eliminations that we've had of very strong, smart women that I think have some game knowledge, didn't get a whole huge edit. And just to make Doug mad, I would say I would love to see Desi come back. And I want to say that because I know that's going to annoy Doug. But
Doug doesn't like Desi?
No, Doug doesn't like talking about bringing everyone back. And so I think that Desi was too nice for the game. And you hear that in some of these things that I think she knew that she could have voted for Joe there at the end, and she would have saved herself and sent Joe home to break a tie. I honestly think both Joe and Desi knew that. Either of them could have flipped on the other one.
And neither did.
And I think they were each other's number 1. And I just think Desi was too good for the game, or too nice for the game. And she saw that in herself. And she said, that's why you saw tears from me at the end, is that I just knew that I couldn't play this game. I needed to trust someone, and Joe was that one person, and I couldn't turn on him. And
but you know what? I think he felt the same about her because he tells her, I didn't flip on you.
I absolutely agree.
When she's leaving, he told her, I did not, and he didn't.
No,
and
absolutely.
He's
Cole and
Mike
flipped on them because they voted for Joe in the first round, but Joe stayed firm with Desi. So I'm very sad to see Desi go. I find it crazy that we're down to 7 guys and 3 women. It's pretty lopsided here, but I think that looks good for the women, that they will probably go unnoticed for quite a while now, because that's the way it ends up going. But I will miss Desi.
And I have 2 of those women.
Yes. So, question of the night that we always ask, and this is also a question for the audience. Who was the MVP of the night? And I'm going to put the pressure on Kim first. Who is your MVP?
Brian.
Why was it Ryan?
2 reasons. I thought he was really smart in hiding that plate, and he found that idol crazy fast. And up until this episode, again, everybody likes Ryan. Nobody has a problem with him. He's not a physical threat to anybody in the game. He's not that great at challenges, but everywhere else, he's well-rounded. So Ryan is my pick.
What about you, Mark? Who's your MVP of the night?
Well, based on the word that I started this episode with, I think the choice is obvious. I'm going to go with Lauren.
Yep. Why is it Lauren?
Just the way she's so under the radar and the way she played off disadvantage, I think she's in a great spot. And then I think she can go at least, final 5 and not 4 or the finale.
Well, I absolutely agree. I would love to be creative and think of someone else, but in this episode, I can't. It's 100% Lauren. Mm-hmm. I thought Lauren played such a great game. She's under the radar. She voted on the right side. Well, she didn't vote and got away with it and was fine with people saying, I'm playing this for myself. I am going to do what's best for me right now. I legitimately thought it was going to backfire on her and send Ben home. I really thought Ben was going home going into that tribal council.
I thought there was a chance he was going home too.
I really thought it was going to be a 3-3-4 with the 4 healers voting for Ben and the other 3 splitting Joe and Desi without having Lauren's vote there. I really thought it was going to backfire on Ben. But Lauren, being self-interested, but also keeping her alliance there and I thought that was great. She didn't get the target for using the advantage. She played it off very sly. And I was very happy with Lauren. I can't give it to anyone else.
Yeah.
I think Lauren is a fantastic player. I've been a Lauren fan since the beginning. Even though she was my last draft pick, I have said from the beginning I've liked Lauren. So I'm very happy with my draft picks.
In the beginning, Lauren was just good TV because she says what she wants.
Yeah.
But then as the show evolves into this merge, she proved that she not only has a mouth on her, she has a game in her as well.
And she's not a target.
Yeah,
nobody is targeting her. She's on no one's radar. So I'm a huge Lauren fan. I'd like to see someone like Lauren win because we haven't really seen someone like her win.
No. We haven't really seen someone like her in general.
No,
not in a while. Yeah,
it's very far and few between the comparisons that I can see to Lauren and people.
Yeah, I agree, and I think she's everybody likes her. Yeah, sometimes she can be a little abrasive and she says things, but nobody dislikes her. Nobody says she's not a nice person or what have you. They don't. She just says it like it is. She's someone who lacks a filter. So she just says things. She doesn't say things to be hurtful or demean you.
Yeah.
She's just like, shut up, I'm tired, Yeah,
I agree. And so now I'm going to get into a topic that we first brought up about 4 weeks ago that is somewhat controversial, but has been gaining steam as we go, and that is Chrissy's aversion to other women. And I know that we kind of first brought that up 4 weeks ago, kind of before people had been talking about it a little bit.
Yes, we did.
When Rourke was first voted out.
Yep.
Then after our episode, we start to hear Rourke to kind of hint at it. And then we hear Allie kind of hint at it. And we hear Jessica talk about it. And then we flat out hear Desi C in some of her exit press saying, Chrissy is one of my least favorite people in the world. Like, that is a quote from Desi. And saying that she doesn't want to work with other women because other women will... other women with better boobs and better teeth will tempt the men that are in the tribe. It's kind of along the line. That's not a direct quote, but that's along the lines of some of the things that he has said.
100%. And we called this weeks ago. I said it. I said,
absolutely.
She's intimidated by beautiful, smart women. And every woman she's got now is a beautiful, smart woman. Allie, Rourke, Desi. They're beautiful and they're smart. She's not intimidated by Lauren. She's not intimidated.
Or really, and the thing is with Lauren and with Ashley, where we've always said that Ashley is kind of the attitude, and Ashley says it to herself, that she gets along with guys. She's a surfer girl. Like she's used. I think she said that she grew up with a bunch of brothers, and she's close with JP and close with Devin and the surfer bro type. Where I think she doesn't see her as that intimidating woman. So I found this really interesting. Like, as we talked about it, that
weeks ago,
it keeps building and building and it's becoming a major topic in a lot of Survivor press.
Well, Mark and I were talking about it before we went live, is that Chrissy will not win in the end. But there's a lot of guys.
You're going to have a jury of all men, basically.
Yeah, but Desi, but I'm telling you right now, Desi is an outspoken woman, and she is going to hammer into those jury members. We are not giving this vote to Chrissy. And I think that she will be persuasive. And I think that Chrissy is not counting on that, is that she's putting the people who she may feel like garbage in jury. You know, I think that... Yeah, I'm happy that, because, you know, Connor, shirtless Compro, tweeted yesterday, I don't understand why doesn't anybody like Chrissy? And I responded, I said, because she talks down to people. And if you look at the exit interviews, you will see it. It's not just her edit. It's who you can't fake an edit. This is who she is.
All the ladies in their exit interviews talked about this point with Chrissy, and it's just obvious. And she's just lucky that some of these women didn't make it to jury. Otherwise she would have such an uphill battle towards the end.
I still don't think that she's going to win, because you saw her snap at Joe. Yeah. So she's not going to have Joe's vote. She's not going to have Desi's vote. And maybe she'd have Ryan, but I think if she's in finals, Ryan is sitting next to her. Yeah. And Ryan will win over her.
Here's the thing. Even with just Desi in the jury right now, Desi is a pageant girl, and she's good with talking, and she's going to talk everybody in that jury into voting against Chrissy. Oh, and she makes it to the end.
Along those lines, I said I'd bring this up later about dragging Joe to the end. When Desi was asked who her final three would be that she wanted to bring, it definitely wasn't Joe. She said, I couldn't bring Joe. I know that.
Wow.
She wanted to bring JP because he's useless and doesn't really know what's going on most of the time.
True.
And she also said Devin, because if you get him there in front of the final jury, he wouldn't be able to get out an intelligent sentence, as we saw by this tribal council where he's just speaking gibberish. So I thought that was kind of...
oh, yeah, I definitely think Joe was a mistake to bring to the end. He can win. Are you kidding? He's overcome so much, and they don't vote him out. I would never bring Joe to the end. I would bring JP and Cole.
But Joe's
JP
one of those.
Devin.
I mean, Joe's one of those abrasive characters, kind of like a mini Hans, so to speak.
No, see, I don't think I think he's more like a Tony than a Hans. I think that he's a little bit more likable than Russell. Because I mean, if you look, Desi likes him, and other people like him. Russell was just not liked. Russell's like Chrissy. You just don't like them. And Chrissy's not liked by Joe or by Desi. So she has two people on that jury, if she makes it to finals, that will not vote for her. And I bet you Cole and Devin would vote against her too. I bet you Desi could get through to them.
So one last question before we look on to the preview for next episode, and I just want a one-word answer from both of you.
You and your one words.
One word. I don't want any explanation. I want one word.
Bloody hell.
Is Chrissy a hero or a villain?
Villain.
Villain.
Even in the edit. And now I'm interested to see what the audience says too, because I know you always hear talks of people like recasting seasons of, oh, who's going to be on the next heroes versus villains, and seeing multiple people put Chrissy on a heroes tribe, and that immediately throws me off.
Really? Who the heck is voting for her for hero?
Just kind of wanted to throw that out there. So as we look on to
that's so confusing. I'm sorry.
The preview for next episode, we see Ryan tell both Ben and Devin that he has an idol in his pants.
Dumb.
But then immediately we see Ben tell Devin that Ryan has an idol, and Devin's mind explodes.
It's the Cole thing all over again.
Exactly.
What the hell?
But I think I'm very intrigued to see how Devin plays this out. To see how much he keeps it to himself, to see how much of it that he actually flips and uses it, because he's in a pretty good spot right now with Ryan, and he may just hold on to this for a little bit, the fact that he knows that he is cheating on him with Ben. So what do you guys think about this preview, and where do you think this is going to take us?
I think Devin will not flip on Ryan yet. I think that he'll wait. I think that and he might not at all. I think that Devin is going to be hurt. But I think that it might actually hurt Ben more than Ryan. I think that this could hurt Ben. Devin could maybe tell Ryan, and then they're going to get out Ben. That's my take on it. I don't see Devin flipping on Ryan yet.
A good point. That's a good thought, that instead of him flipping on Ryan, he's more pushing it back on Ben for blabbing it to him. It could.
Because you don't know, just because he told Ben too he had an idol doesn't mean that he's, so to speak, betrayed Devin. Mm-hmm. So Devin could see it as the betrayal. Like, well, wait a minute, we have to get rid of Ben now because Ben is gonna blah 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 blah.
Yep.
And here's another thing, as Chrissy the Math Whiz might eventually point out, there's still 10 people in the game. That's a lot of people. This is very early to be making like a move like this. So he might wait until maybe 8 or 7.
Well, it's time to take out a hero to even things out.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to go next week?
I don't know who I think, but I would like to see Ben.
At this point, I think I agree. I hate to agree with that, but yeah, it has to be Ben.
And I could legitimately see it too.
I think it'll be Ben or Cole. I think Joe will survive another trouble. I think that the focus will change. It always changes. So my guess is going to be Ben or Cole. I think that's who's going to go. I think my draft will stay safe for at least 2 more weeks.
If it's Cole, then we need to worry about whoever wins immunity next episode going out in the episode after that. Because that's where it's going right now. If Desi wins, then gets voted out. Cole wins. We'll see what Cole goes next episode. So that wraps up this week's episode of the Spyshack podcast. Kim, tell everyone where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at Kim_is__board.
How about you, Mark?
You can find me on Twitter at MarkPolo310. And shout out to Doug and Patty and all our regulars. Thank you so much for watching.
Yes, thank you. We love having you.
Thank you for everyone in the audience. We really enjoyed it. Your guys' feedback really helps us kind of add in more points of view. We like you guys being there and adding I would say, 5th perspective. But Saul is not here tonight, so it's a 4th perspective tonight. You can find me on Twitter at Randy Knoop. That's RandyKNUP. Always tweeting about whatever. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you all for joining us. And make sure to join us next week. We will be doing a show next week that is Thanksgiving night. It will be our normal time after most Thanksgiving festivities. There is not a double episode next week. Forewarning everyone, it is not next week. It is the week after that. We will be seeing a double episode on November 29th. Be ready for that. So that was when we'll see whatever goes down. That's usually a fun episode.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That brings us to the end of tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.